if you're going to think, you may as well think big. Yeah, man, I read Trump's Art of the Deal like a bit over a year ago, and that was a quote in it, and I thought, that's like a little mindset or tactic that he's got in life. And to be fair to him, obviously he does think big. He's stupidly egotistical, stupidly expansionist with this whole Greenland thing. And so basically in this vid, I'm gonna talk about him as a person, like his personality, kind of what he's done so far, and then I'll come to the Greenland stuff. Just to preempt it, basically, I'm against what he's doing and saying about Greenland, but I don't think it's as bad as everyone's making out. So I was in favour of Trump winning the election against Kamala, mainly because I thought he'd get peace in Ukraine. He's failed to do that. He's been far softer than I expected in terms of using military levers against Russia. So his main lever that he should use is basically that if you don't sign this peace deal, I will triple the aid to Ukraine. He's somewhat fucked himself in his run up to the election because he said to the people, we're sending far too much money to Ukraine, we're spewing all this money for no reason. Therefore, he kind of removed, in a way, that lever from himself to be able to use that once he got into power. Now, as he was doing that in the election, I thought he's strong enough to basically say, fuck what I promised previously before the election. I'm just going to triple aid to Ukraine, triple military aid, and therefore fuck over Russia and force him to sign a peace deal. He's obviously not done that. Obviously, he gets on well with Putin on a personal level, maybe a bit better than he gets on with Zelensky. Obviously, people talk about the whole Zelensky scrap with him, Vance and Zelensky in the White House, maybe nearly a year ago. I didn't make a video on that at the time. Basically, I was in favour of all three of them. For actually, fucking politicians for once expressing their honest, plain views in front of the public in the light of day. In a democracy, it is simply favourable to see what your leaders really, truly believe. If they actually have arguments in real life in front of each other, in front of the cameras, that's far better than doing it behind closed doors, because at least you can see what they believe and then you can vote for them based on those beliefs, yeah? It's generally better if it was a dictatorship as well, just for the people to actually see what their leader believes. It's a better thing to exist. It makes the population feel more, I don't know, like they're, I was going to say listened to, but not listened to, but they just understand and grasp their leaders more. It's simply a good thing to happen. So it was good that they spoke in public about how they felt. So I thought that was a good thing that they did. So to analyse Trump's record so far, failed on Ukraine, very bad. Succeeded with Gaza, very good. So that's like a clear big tick there, a big clear cross for Ukraine. If we compare it to Kamala, no chance she'd have got peace in Ukraine. Obviously, I doubt she'd have got it in Gaza either. So basically, I wanted him to beat Kamala, partly because Kamala's really shit. Do you know what I mean? It's possible the Democrats could have had a good candidate who I'd have supported, but basically now I thought Kamala's terrible, Trump's not great, but not terrible. Therefore, I prefer Trump. The economy in the US is basically kind of not doing amazingly. Like, I'm not a fucking economist, but by and large, they've got a bit of inflation, jobs aren't going great. Obviously, all the tariffs that he's kind of imposing, taking off, this, that, the other kind of constantly are not really helping the economy, yeah? I do not understand his obsession with not having a trade deficit. So basically, a trade deficit is when you're when you're importing more than you export, yeah? So more money's going out the country than coming in. But that is the logical thing to happen for a developed economy who can buy things that are cheaply made abroad. I do not really grasp his big issue with that. Yeah, you can say you're more exposed to things happening outside your borders, yeah, so it's less secure in a way. So you import all your fucking shoes from the UK, or the UK goes to shit, the economy crashes in the UK, now you've not got any shoes to buy, yeah? So obviously there's some logic in having things built in-house more because it's just kind of safer, it's more predictable, especially food security is a big one for lots of countries, obviously. But by and large, I think he overrates that massively. I'm very critical of that. If you can buy shit cheap abroad, do it, mate. Why not? The perfect world exists where the whole globe trades with basically free trade, have it nice and flexible and dynamic. Or this new country's popped up with this product, let's just import that. Built on trust, built on relationships, which I'll kind of come on to in a second. So shit on the economy, shit on Russia, Ukraine, good on Gaza. Obviously he's done well with reducing immigration and deporting immigrants who've committed crimes and general illegal immigrants. Am I in favour of this? Again, I still kind of am always torn on immigration, so I'm going to kind of just say I'm neutral on this. Basically, with immigration, it obviously improves the immigrant's life, but it can make the lives of the people living in the country worse because simply there's more pressure on public services and stuff like that. So I'm just going to kind of say a net neutral on immigration for now in terms of my opinions on it. I do need to kind of flesh that out a bit more in my own head. Yeah, so that's kind of an analysis of what he's done so far. So I'd say worse than I expected, but still just about probably better than Kamala would have done, maybe because of Gaza. Now his personality. He's a weird mix of being a fucking very good talker, like a funny troll, and he is funny and he is entertaining. And he's a very good communicator sometimes when he kind of just says things completely straight. He's like, no, this leader's rubbish, absolutely terrible, useless, should have done this, that. Like, he's very, very good at that. Where he's abysmal is this like fucking year anniversary today of Trump getting into power. He's just done like a press conference, or it's still going on right now. I made the effort to like sit down and watch it. The first 20 minutes, he's literally showing pictures of people that ICE have deported and then going through a big fat book of his achievements in the first year. I watched a video of him, so I think it might have been like the Peace Prize conference a few weeks ago, months ago. Again, he's literally just listed for 15 minutes straight things that his administration have achieved. It is like beyond boring and shit and unentertaining and useless and pointless, and does not, he has literally zero self-critical ability whatsoever. Like, the most interesting talk a politician could do could be like, hey, this is what we thought at the time, we did this, these were the errors, this is where we fucked up, this had this outcome, in the future we'll do X, Y, Z, whilst kind of being pretty free, loose, kind of funny with it. That is the best way a politician can talk, in my opinion. He has literally zero self-criticism, and it is fucking embarrassing. It is legit embarrassing and boring and weird. And even his main supporters, I guarantee, will be fucking bored watching that speech. It's just like, lad, what are you on about? So I'm super against Trump's ego. I knew he was egotistical, obviously, when I was like supporting him in the election. Again, Kamala was proper shit, and that's the reason I was supporting him. I knew he was egotistical. I didn't think he was like this egotistical though. And this whole think big thing is definitely like a tactic of his. He cares so much about that. So all he wants to do is think big, make America big, great, amazing, big himself up, make it big, great, amazing. And it is basically a shit tactic. It's a shit way of thinking, in my opinion. So I knew his ego was big, but I thought it'd be more focused in a good direction of peace, which to be fair, it has been to an extent. And obviously it's a bit of a meme that he's like the biggest peace hunter ever kind of thing. And that's what he kind of strives for. And I've ended 8 wars or more, etc. And he's obviously, Gaza was the main one. He maybe helped with India, Pakistan, this, that, the other. But like, obviously not a massive hand. Gaza was the only one who had a massive hand. I didn't think his ego would extend into like wanting to invade Greenland and to be so unself-critical, where I think it just obstructs any kind of logical, critical thinking, basically. So I've underestimated effectively his stupidity, and so I feel like a bit of a dickhead for that, because lots of people sit there and say Trump is very stupid. Is he above average IQ? Yeah, still probably just about, but he's definitely not a very intelligent person. He just isn't, do you know what I mean? And if he used to be an intelligent person, that has died with age, and it's died with his ego that's grown and grown, and now just blinds any kind of critical thinking, and therefore he's not intelligent anymore. So yeah, I misread that about Trump, I think, just how old and egotistical he was. He's constantly slating now world leaders on Truth Social, slating the UK Chagos Islands deal, slating Macron all the time, this, that, the other. Yeah, just unnecessarily combative, just stupid, unnecessary. Now, Greenland. So that's obviously the hot debate. Obviously the Maduro thing as well, actually, I'll touch on that. So the Maduro thing, basically, I'm actually kind of in favour of. So same with like Israel, Gaza. I said that Israel's response to the Gaza, to the Hamas, October 7th attack should have been like defend. So basically bolster the defences and minimise the chance of it happening as much as possible. Don't fully counter-attack, because any full war, like declaration of war on Gaza, full invasion would kill tens of thousands of civilians, which it did. But what they should have done, Israel, is done precise strikes on leaders to take them out and replace them with good people. When you can do precise strikes on leaders, or the ones who did a terror attack, 9/11's a perfect example as well. If they could have taken out bin Laden but not fucking invaded Iraq and Afghanistan, that would have been much better. Israel should have done that with Hamas, and that's what the US did do with Venezuela. So actually, good. Okay, good. You've basically, I think some other kind of troops died, but minimal damage done, taking out a scumbag leader who everyone agrees is a scumbag. Obviously, the question with Venezuela then is who replaces him. So basically, the number 2 is now in place, under obviously close supervision of the US, and so how that's going to play out is hard to know. But basically, the key point is that the chance of the person replacing the scumbag leader, so the chance of them being as scummy as the scumbag leader is pretty low. Therefore, that is obviously a net positive. Removing a scumbag to getting less of a scumbag is a net positive, simple as that. So like, well done on the Maduro stuff. I don't really care that it breaks international law or this, that, and the other. It simply improves the greater good, because you get rid of a scumbag and it predicts a better life for the Venezuelan people. Greenland. So it's not as bad as everyone makes out. It's completely cunty and egotistical and stupid. The reason it's not as bad as everyone makes out is kind of twofold. One, Greenland's population is really small, about 57,000, so the number of people it would actually affect is very low. Two, America is not like a terrible, evil dictatorship to live under. Now people are like, Trump's a dictator. But no, to actually live under American law is not that different or crazy or terrible compared to the general West, yeah? So how much is it actually going to affect Greenlanders' day-to-day lives? Not significantly is the answer. And so that's why it's not a complete catastrophe if 57,000 people, which is not many people, move from under kind of Danish/autonomous occupation to American occupation. If it was North Korea invading and then they have to live under North Korean rule, that'd be much worse because 57,000 people, again, not much, are now living in a much, much worse situation. But because America is not that scummy, it's not going to affect their lives that much. Now, obviously, the vast majority of Greenlanders are going to say, fuck off, like we want to be our own autonomous territory, this, that, the other. Fair, reasonably fair, okay? To get a bit philosophical about it, Greenland's 57,000 people, right? I'm from Southport, which is like 90,000 people. Us Southporters, we want to make our own laws. Like we want to be our own country. Why should we have the rule of the UK over us? We don't want that. We want to be Southporters. I'm not saying there's a fucking Southport independence movement, but the point I'm making is how small do you want to go? What about a family of 4 in a home? Yeah, we've lived at fucking one normal drive for generations, mate. And this is like our lands. These are our territories. We want to be our own independent country. We don't be controlled by another country. At what point does it become a country in which it can like have its own laws? Now, obviously, Greenland is literally an island, so that's kind of like a good starting point. Geographically, it's an island, it's on its own, so that's more of an argument to be a country. And obviously, because it's an island with not many people going to and from it, it's got its own kind of culture, if you like, or its own identity over time. So they're kind of arguments in favour of it being a country. But because it is just so small population-wise, it's not that big of a deal. Why am I against it still? So the pros of it happening are that America would then put more military bases, more early warning missile defense systems there if they did own it. That is a fact. And that there is a positive of that, yeah, that it protects the US and in turn kind of protects a lot of the West. So is there logic to what Trump's saying? Yes, there is. What's the quite obvious counter to that logic? They could just do that anyway. Denmark/Greenland is an ally currently, fucking teetering on the edge right now, but it's still currently an ally. They could just put the fucking bases there anyway, the early warning systems there anyway. There's no reason to fucking invade it and take over it or buy it. That is not necessary to put the stuff there. So that is like the key flaw in Trump's logic. He says you don't defend a lease like you defend your own. It's just kind of nonsense, mate. You're literally saying you're not defending Greenland. That's the point. The point of putting these bases there is not to defend Greenland, it's to defend the US. So it's not like saying, if we don't own Greenland, we're not going to defend Greenland as much. No, you're not defending Greenland in the first place anyway. You're defending the US. So you're going to put them there to defend the US anyway because you own the US and that's what you care about. So his logic is flawed and pretty stupid, do you know what I mean? What's his driver? His ego, obviously. But yeah, simple as that really. That is the reason I'm against it, is because it's going to piss off Greenlanders, it's going to piss off lots of people, and the benefits of it could literally be achieved exactly the same by just putting the bases there anyway and agreeing it with the Danes. They've literally already got a right to put more bases there if they want. He's just being a bit of a stupid twat. He's being egotistical, who loves the news, loves the attention, and wants to expand the US's territory. Obviously, there's quite a lot of minerals and stuff there as well, so like rare earth metals, this, that, the other, whatever the fuck they are. China have kind of got a bit of a monopoly on them right now. Greenland has a lot of them, so that is another kind of valid reason you want that. Again, that does then kind of feel like theft and robbery from Denmark/from Greenland. Also, there's a conversation to be had about Denmark owning it. Like, lots of Greenlanders don't like Denmark either because they are a Danish colony, I think, before the war, and then like Denmark, since the war, kind of increased the amount of autonomy they've got, and are kind of nicey to them now, so it's not that deep. But yeah, America taking over it and then taking all those minerals and stuff like that does feel like a bit of a crime, a bit of a robbery in a way, but who has the right to them anyway? Because at the end of the day, they're just fucking metals stored on an island where basically nobody lives. So yeah, against it, because he could just put the missile defense systems there anyway, is the long story. But there is benefits in terms of the US putting more bases there. But yeah, he's an egotistical cunt, for lack of a better word. Am I still happy he won the election? Yes, because of Gaza. I don't think Kamala would have stopped the war in Gaza, and Trump did. And so that's the main thing. The US economy, would Kamala have been much different? Hard to say, probably a bit better. So, to be fair, the US economy affects 350 million people plus other countries. Gaza affects 3 million, but it's much more kind of serious for those 3 million. So yeah, on balance, still just about better that Gaza's stopped, I'd say, than like the slight damage he's done to the economy. So a net positive on Trump versus Kamala from that perspective. But yeah, like emotively, I'm kind of hating Trump more than I used to now. Like I basically used to think he was like a net positive. It depends again who he's running against. Do you know what I mean? Like, but I used to kind of like him. Like, I thought he was funny and stuff like that. And he can still be funny. He is a bit of a troll and he is a brave bastard. But as I spoke about in my last video, if you're brave and kind of competent and can push things through, that's very good if you're doing it in a good direction, but it's very, very bad if you're doing it in a bad direction. Hitler was confident and competent and brave, and he pushed things forward in an atrocious direction. It was bad that Hitler was competent, yeah, and brave and like a hard man. You do not want that if you're kind of a scummy mindset, and Trump does obviously have somewhat of a scummy mindset. Boom. Yeah, man, not much else to talk about there, but yeah, against this, more and more against Trump now. It's nice to see that Farage just come and spoke out against it as well, because like he's obviously a bit like allied with him, and it's nice to see the European leaders actually having a bit more balls against it now. It's just, do they retaliate with tariffs as well? Not spoke about that. So obviously Trump's threatening tariffs on the European countries. Just cunty, mate. Cunty and poor. And the European leaders are saying we won't retaliate. You absolutely should retaliate. Of course you should retaliate. You can't let him keep getting away with this. You can't be weak to it. That's time to fuck off and explain to him what he's doing is illogical, because you can just put the bases there anyway, mate. Yeah, man. Game, 7 match.